In the 1970s, a tiny Caribbean island stunned the world. Not by war, not by gold, but by picking a side, one that risked everything. That island was Jamaica, and the side, communist Cuba. At the height of the Cold War, when most of the world was choosing between Washington and Moscow, Jamaica didn't just shake hands with Fidel Castro, it embraced him. While other Caribbean nations tiptoed carefully between the world's superpowers, Prime Minister Michael Manley took bold steps that left even his allies confused and his enemies furious. In 1975, Fidel Castro landed in Kingston, not in secret, not with guns, but to cheers, parades, and a hero's welcome. Thousands gathered at National Heroes Park, waving flags and singing. Some cried, others stared in disbelief. A Cuban leader openly celebrated in the heart of a country once loyal to Britain. Why did Manley, the son of a national hero, welcome a revolutionary leader into Jamaica with such open arms? The answer starts with a nation in crisis and a dream of something bigger. Michael Manley came to power in 1972, promising change, deep change. He saw poverty not as a fact of life, but as something to fight. He talked about justice, fairness, and giving the poor a chance. His plan? Democratic socialism, a middle road, one that kept democracy but promised economic equality. But as Manley tried to lift up the poor, the rich began to panic. Business leaders saw higher taxes, foreign investors saw risks, and Washington saw red. Still, Manley didn't back down, he doubled down. He reached out to countries that shared his ideals, and among them, Cuba stood out. Castro had defied the United States, built schools and hospitals, and offered medical aid across the region. Manley admired that. He wanted Jamaican children to read, Jamaican mothers to survive childbirth, and Jamaican workers to have rights. In Cuba, he saw a partner who believed in people before profit. And Cuba, they saw in Manley a rare friend in a hostile sea. The connection was electric. Cuba sent doctors, engineers, and teachers to help build Jamaica's future. One project stood out: the Jose Marti Technical School, built with Cuban aid and named after Cuba's national hero. This wasn't just a school, it was a symbol, a message. Jamaica wasn't looking only to the west, it was building its own path. And Cuba was walking beside it. But not everyone clapped. The United States grew nervous, then angry. Washington saw Jamaica as drifting into the Soviet orbit. The CIA, which had already tried to crush revolutions in Latin America, now turned its gaze to Kingston. Reports of covert interference began to rise. Guns started to flow into the country. Political violence soared. The 1976 election, meant to be about ideas, turned into a bloodbath. Nearly 200 Jamaicans were killed in political clashes that year alone. Still, Manley stood firm. In a fiery speech at a PNP rally, he declared, "We are not for sale." The crowd roared, but behind the scenes, things were falling apart. Tourism dropped, the economy staggered, middle-class professionals fled. The media branded him a dictator in disguise. Rumors swirled that Cuba was sending weapons, not just doctors. Some believed Manley was turning Jamaica into Little Havana. Meanwhile, the Cold War was heating up, and the United States wasn't playing nice. The US wasn't just watching, they were intervening. Declassified documents now confirm that the CIA was involved in destabilizing Jamaica during Manley's time. There were attempts to influence the media, to fund the opposition, to control the narrative. The US feared another Cuba in the Caribbean, and they were willing to do almost anything to stop it. And they did. By 1980, violence reached horrifying levels. Gangs tied to both political parties unleashed terror on communities. People died in the streets, and the hope that once burned so brightly under Manley's leadership started to flicker. In the October 1980 general election, the people voted, and they voted for change. The Jamaica Labour Party was swept into power, promising stability and a reset. One of the first things the JLP government did in 1980, it realigned Jamaica with the West and cut ties with Cuba. But here's the thing. The relationship between Jamaica and Cuba in the 1970s wasn't just about politics, it was about vision. Manley wasn't trying to make Jamaica a copy of Cuba. He was trying to say, we can be more. We can stand tall without begging. We can dream our own dream. Now, more than 40 years later, the question still lingers. Did we lose something when we walked away? Now let's hit you with 4 powerful facts that rarely make it into textbooks. Bonus fact 1. The Jose Marti School, built with Cuban assistance, became one of Jamaica's largest technical high schools, empowering generations with real-life job skills, even after ties with Cuba were cut. Bonus fact 2. Cuba continued to offer scholarships to Jamaican students even after the JLP government broke diplomatic ties. Bonus fact 3. In 1980, Fidel Castro said publicly that he would never interfere with Jamaica's democracy, even as the US was actively accused of doing just that. Bonus fact 4. Today, more than 300 Jamaican doctors were trained in Cuba, and Cuban medical brigades have helped in Jamaican hospitals during crises. The friendship never really died. So why did Jamaica get so close to Cuba in the 1970s? Because one leader dared to dream big. Because one nation believed it could rise without kneeling. Because in a world full of pressure, Jamaica tried to walk its own path. And even though that path got dark and dangerous, maybe it still lit the way. If this video sparked something in you, some memory, some thought, some fire, drop your comments below. Tell us, was Manley bold or reckless? Was Cuba a friend or a mistake? Let's talk. Let's remember. Let's learn. And if you believe stories like these deserve to be heard, hit that subscribe button and join the Impacting Jamaica community. We've got more Jamaican stories on the way.